Welcome to Facts TV News, where everything is true. Probe launched into police fatal shooting in Spanish Town. An investigation has been launched into the fatal shooting of a man in Greendale, Spanish Town, St. Catherine on Friday afternoon by an off-duty policeman. The policeman was reportedly at a wholesale transacting business about 3:30 p.m. when he was approached by two men. One of the men reportedly shouted, "Sidi Boide." It is alleged that both men brandished handguns and fired at the policeman, who took evasive action and returned the fire. The police said both men continued shooting while running away from the business place. One of them fell after being hit by a gunshot and was taken to the Spanish Town Hospital where he died. St. James man confesses to defrauding elderly Americans. A St. James man on Friday pleaded guilty in a Miami federal court in participating in a bogus lottery scheme targeting elderly Americans. Greg Warren Clark, 29, of Montego Bay, was extradited to the United States after he waived his right to an extradition hearing in Jamaica in May. According to court documents, he pleaded guilty to one count of conspiracy to commit mail and wire fraud. He is scheduled to be sentenced on October 28. The U.S. Department of Justice, in a statement on Friday, said Clark admitted that between September 2013 and August 2015, he worked with co-conspirators including Claude Anthony Shaw in a scheme to defraud several victims. They were called and falsely told that they had won over $1 million in lottery and needed to pay fees or tax to claim their winnings. Victims were instructed to send their money through wire transfer or the mail to Shaw and other individuals. Court documents said Clark admitted that he and Shaw discussed plans to receive victims' money over the phone and via text messages. At Clark's direction, Shaw received money from victims through wire transfer and the mail, and then sent the funds he collected to Clark in Jamaica through wire transfers. Shaw previously pleaded guilty in mail fraud in the U.S. District Court in Fort Lauderdale, and he was sentenced to 36 months in prison in June 2017. An indictment was later filed against Clark in the U.S. District Court for the Southern District of Florida and unsealed upon his extradition to the United States. People's Arcade in Montego Bay comes under scrutiny again following inspection. The People's Arcade in Montego Bay, St. James, has again come under scrutiny from the authorities, with an inspection on Thursday unearthing several areas of concern to include sanitization, squatting, and criminal activities. Superintendent Aaron Samuels said one major issue identified is the lack of water, which raises public health concerns.
First and foremost, we wanted to ensure that we do a sweep of the People's Arcade. From time to time, we always have persons who are not known to the police who migrate from different areas and take up residence within the People's Arcade and may end up becoming nuisances to us. So we were here to detect crimes, see if we can find wanted persons or persons of interest. There were two persons who were known to the police that were taken into custody for us to do some investigations, to interview them to see if they are wanted anywhere else for any crimes. Also, for our public order reset, we're looking at the whole facility here, which is really in a state of disarray. It was not built with policing in mind, and we find that with a place like this, it gives a safe haven for a lot of criminals to operate. So we are looking at the whole issue of even the public health hazards that are here. We have agencies that are partnering with us today, Ministry of Health. We have the National Water Commission, the Municipal Corporation. They were in search of breaches. The Ministry of Health, they have been having an ongoing investigation into the sanitation issues here. Water Commission has verified that there is no running water within the facility here, but yet still there are generations of families living here, leading to poor sanitation practices. Also, what we know of a fact is that a lot of the meals that are sold on the streets are prepared here in a situation where there's no running water and poor sanitation conveniences. So we are really looking at a broad spectrum of public order issues here, and the main is for the health and wellness of our citizens in Montego Bay. We are very concerned with the fact that meals are being prepared here and sold on the streets. The evidence we see in some areas where there are push carts with the writings on it for porridge being sold, soup being sold. There's evidence of utensils used but there's no evidence of running water. So we are concerned with that. We have done many operations here before. We know that it is used as an escape route when persons commit crimes in other areas in the city. They run through here and make good their escape because it's a maze. So we really are concerned, and we believe that our intervention is greatly needed if we are to bring about some law and order within the space here in Montego Bay. Well, personally, I think that this location would be ideal if totally revamped and designed to allow for persons to vent an extension of the bus park so that we can take most of the traffic out of the town, foot and vehicular traffic. And also it would provide a structured space for legitimate vendors to rent, put in the proper amenities, running water, light, and we'll have a situation where we can have a safe place for persons to sell, for persons to make purchases, and persons to ply their routes and take taxis. The multi-agency approach that we are operating with now will bring these agencies together, so we'll sit at the table and decide on the way forward. We have already started speaking with the municipal corporation about this particular entity, and they are in agreement that something must be done. So we are just ensuring that we get the public order together, and then we will tie in all the issues and the areas that we can to ensure that this works. So we just need to start the planning as soon as possible to get this done.
Prime Minister Holness defends his administration's social housing program. Prime Minister Holness is championing the government's social housing program, says it can stand up to scrutiny. He was speaking at the handing over ceremony of a house unit in Albury District, St. Anne. The Prime Minister noted that his administration has always prioritized accountability when undertaking these projects.
When we designed this new social housing program, and indeed all the housing programs that we have done, we have put accountability front and center. That every dollar that is allocated to the project must end up in the shelter solution for the benefit of the beneficiary. None of it must be filtered off elsewhere. So accountability is key. Even though the applicants come through a political process, meaning they come through the MPs, the benefits are not politically assigned. They are assigned based upon needs. Whatever government does, and what I have tried to do in my administration, is to ensure that things are fair. We don't always get it right, but we always try to make sure that things are fair. So a part of the fairness is to ensure that there is no corruption, that the projects operate on time, that they follow the procurement guidelines, that all the funds are accountable, and that the beneficiaries are deserving. What I'm hoping to see happen is that more contractors will start to develop the skill in building quickly and at high quality. One of the challenges that we're having in the provision of housing is that we don't have enough contractors that have the technical skills. That means they have been trained. They have an engineering background or a project management background or a construction background. Many of them just go in it for the love of it, and they have developed skills over time. But we need people who are literally trained in this. Then we need persons who would be willing to make the investment in the technology. We're seeing that there is a new generation of contractors emerging who understand that, who understand the intricacies of contracting, and who understand that it is also technology-based and it is systems-based, and they understand that they have to deliver at a high quality. This program is trying to build a pool of these contractors that we can rely on to deliver the projects timely and efficiently at the price points that would make them affordable.
Times are uncertain, and we understand that. We also understand the fears and concerns our citizens have, but we continue to encourage you think carefully and exercise discernment in the midst of the global challenges. Your government continues to look out for your very best interest, stated Prime Minister Holness.
We have to understand that in these disruptive times, there is an increase in uncertainty in the minds of people. And when people are uncertain, fear increases. And when fear increases, people start to make irrational decisions. And when people start to make irrational decisions, they become poor economic agents. And when they become poor economic agents, the main feature of a poor economic agent is that they will not sacrifice today for a future benefit. So they will save less. They will not make capital decisions. And what that means is that it becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy. You end up in either a recession or, depending on how terrible it is, you end up in a depression. So governments can't just sit by and allow this negative outlook to persist. And in a democracy where you have freedom of expression, you have certain narratives that compound the issue, telling you things that are not true. So what have we done as a government? I'm sure you would see that we have never relented in the engagement of the people of Jamaica. Regardless of how difficult the circumstances are, I have been front and center in communicating with the people of Jamaica. No matter what the challenges are, we present ourselves. And all of the ministers have that direction. Yes, there are challenges. We are the government. We are responsible for the management of the country. We cannot abdicate. We cannot run and hide. We have to be present. So if people quarreling about water, we must be there to respond. If people quarreling about the environmental issues, we must be there to respond. If people quarreling about crime, we must be there to respond. People quarreling about the economic circumstances, we must be there to respond. And regardless of whatever the narrative and criticisms that have been laid, it cannot be said that this administration has not responded.
Please remember to subscribe, like, share, and click the notification bell.